Allah Yahweh Bashim Yasharahla Bashim Kakadash, double honor to the apostles of the elder great millstone, peace and citation to the hopeful elect Shalom. And just want to get into this article right here. It says China prepares to choke off America's rare metal supply. This is on November 10th, 2023 at 2:14 a.m. by the Newsweek.com. And this is by Adil Brar. And it says China will tighten reporting controls on strategic rare earth metals, according to its Commerce Ministry, in a move that could choke off America's supply of critical minerals used in the production of electric cars and missiles. The ministry said on Tuesday that exporters of rare earth metals would need to report their shipment orders, although no limitations were announced at the time. The government did not publicly specify which minerals would be subject to the new reporting requirement. Well, it meant specify, so that was a typo right there. So let me get into the article. It says the decision is being viewed as a message to Washington about Beijing's potential to target specific industries as a response to the U.S.'s own restrictions on high-end semiconductors. The decision also comes as Chinese leader Xi Jinping is slated to travel to San Francisco next week for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, where he is expected to meet President Joe Biden and attend a reception with U.S. corporate elites. Rare earth elements are a group of 17 minerals that, although abundant, are challenging to extract and process for use in cutting-edge technologies, from new electric vehicles and solar panels to microchips used by the defense industry. China is the biggest producer of rare earth elements, having mastered extraction and processing. The new reporting requirement was a common practice, its Commerce Ministry said of the policy move. And quote, the establishment of an import and export statistical survey and reporting mechanism for certain bulk products is an internationally accepted practice. Statistics on the import and export of goods help us to grasp the incomings and outgoings of bulk products in a timely manner in order to examine trends, said He Yadong, a ministry spokesperson. The new reporting requirement is an update to the commodity reporting regulations published in 2022 by China Statistics Bureau and will last 2 years starting from October 31st. China currently accounts for 60% of the world's rare earth extraction and 87% of processing, according to an analysis by the Paris-based International Energy Agency. Rare metals are the only items on Beijing's growing list of strategic targets. The Commerce Ministry has also asked importers of iron ore, copper ore, concentrate, and potash fertilizer to report their orders. In July, China imposed export restrictions on two rare earth minerals, gallium and germanium, which are crucial for semiconductor manufacturing. The decision was seen as a counter blow to Washington's controls on China's access to high-end computer chips. However, experts have questioned the presumption that China could hurt the United States with rare earth restrictions. And quote, we have a hard time seeing how China could slap rare earth restrictions on consumer goods that are produced inside China and are increasingly consumed globally, and not shoot itself in the economic foot in the process. John LaForge, head of real asset strategy at Wells Fargo Investment Institute, said in a 2019 research report. Laborers work at a rare earth metals mine site in Nanjing County in China's eastern Jiangxi province on October 7, 2010. The Chinese Commerce Ministry imposed new reporting requirements on rare earth element exports on November 7, 2023. China has been accused of weaponizing its dominance in the rare earths industry before. In 2010, Beijing slashed export quotas and reduced shipments to Japan after tensions escalated over the disputed Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea. Beijing's targeting of Japan raised widespread Let me see. Yeah, widespread concern in the West, but China eventually lifted restrictions after World Trade Organization ruled against Beijing's actions in 2014 in a case jointly put forward by the U.S., the European Union, and Japan. Jeremy Su, writing for Scientific American, concluded that Beijing's restriction of rare earth exports to Japan had backfired as companies found ways to reduce dependence on particular elements. And it says China, however, continues to find new reserves of rare earth elements at home, including the latest discovery of a new ore in Baotou in its northern Inner Mongolia region. Alright, let me bring out the scriptures now to make this lesson edifying. So now it says James the 5th chapter verse 1. It says, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have reaped treasure together for the last days." And the reason why it's saying that your riches are corrupted is because when it's coming to like America, this is one of the countries that are one of the biggest importers, and if I'm not mistaken, it's probably the number one most important country out of all countries in the world. And I believe the top exporter for the USA is China out of all exporting countries, because almost everything comes from China. And yet, ironically, they say everything from China is fake. But anyways, when it's coming to the rare earth elements, the metals coming from China, the fact that China's putting restrictions on the USA, that's going to pretty much put a decline in the finished products of, electric vehicles, or, whatever the products they listed on the, in the article and in that video that I just showed. And at the same time as China begins to do that, the USA could be trying to, pull off some sort of trade war like they were doing a few years ago with Donald Trump. And the trade war that he did was so stupid, that the fact that it was hurting US consumers. But that's a topic for another lesson. But now what China's doing to the US could potentially do some sort of damage to the US economy. As you can see, we're like over 33 trillion in debt. And at the same time, for those products that are used, that uses those rare earth elements, those metals that China's restricting America from getting, that could lead to maybe hyperinflation or inflation for those particular products. Because there's one thing in the it shows you in the supply chain model, like if you ever study like supply chain, there's like a process flow chart that shows like the process of turning raw materials and manufacturing those raw materials into finished products. So it goes through like a whole process. And America usually gets their raw materials from different countries, mainly in China, out in the East. And when it's coming to businesses in America that, sell those finished products that uses those type of raw materials, you could eventually see prices of those products going up. So that's why verse 3 is saying that your gold and silver is cankered. And verse 4 says, "Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your field, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth." Verse 5, "Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you." One thing about, this country, America, like I've been saying, they've been a bully so long to the point where it's like, you put in sanctions on other countries, and you pretty much try to limit their economic growth by accepting your currency, which is hurting their citizens, and not only just their citizens, but it's also hurting their economy as well. And other nations are in a lot of debt because of America, and they owe like over trillions of dollars to China. So this could potentially lead to war against China as well. And it ties up with Isaiah 47, how, you Edomites, y'all no longer being called tender and delicate. And eventually these high inflations are going to lead to more people in America. They're going to start committing crimes and start stealing from these stores. Just like what you've been seeing over the news with these smash and grab, GMO niggas. What they were doing was they were going in certain stores, like retail stores, and going to like these department stores like Target, stealing TVs, stealing certain technologies, things of that nature, because times is pretty much getting tough. So when the prices of these products like really start going up drastically, people are going to definitely resort to doing that, and eventually that's going to lead to famine, and that's going to also lead to a scarcity of those products from being sold in America. And you see one thing, as the scripture says, like I believe in probably Matthew the 6th chapter, if I'm not mistaken, but it goes into how in the book of Matthew, that the riches are on this earth are moth-eaten and they're corrupt, because there's something called inflation that could pretty much put up the prices of your products, because as raw materials become more expensive or it becomes harder to get over time, that's going to eventually lead to the increase of demand. And when there's an increase in demand and a decrease in supply of those raw materials, that becomes more of a commodity, and the price increases in value, which therefore creates inflation, and hence making products more expensive as that type of situation continues. So I'll just keep it with that, and don't want to make the lesson longer than it should, so point has already been made. And with that, hope every lesson edifying. Let's give all glory, praise, honor to Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yahweh Shah, Bashem Kakadash, the bonds of the apostles and elders, millstone, peace, citation, hope for elect, Shalom.